Hare Krishna. Welcome to my Radhamadev channel. This is Sindhu here. I'm happy to be back to you all with another beautiful, inspiring topic of discussion. 3 wise quotes that can help center the mind from the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to see that. Basically, the lessons in regulating a monkey mind. Right? The topic is 3 wise quotes that can help center the mind. Let's start with an introduction and prayer. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nahamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurava Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Before getting into the detail of the practical lessons in regulating and centering the mind, we need to understand basically 3 important concepts. What is mind, what is intelligence, and what is ego? His Divine Grace Radhanath Swami says, for those who have conquered the mind, it is the best of friends. For those who have failed to do so, the mind remains the greatest of the enemies. I repeat, for those who have conquered the mind, it is the best of friends. For those who have failed to do so, the mind remains the greatest of the enemies. This verse is also given in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, 6th verse. For the Atma to process the information, it receives through the senses. It uses a faculty of the mind. For example, our eyes may see a red flower, and from the optic nerve, the electrical impulses travel to the brain and make the image available to us. It is the mind that responds to the flower, to the mind that recognizes and calls it, it's a red flower, yellow flower, whatever. And the flower and emotions, it's a mind that responds. So, physical organ in the physical body that links the physical body to the intangible mind. So, the Bhagavad Gita turns this idea on its head. I am, it teaches, and therefore I think. Without the presence of Atma, the mind cannot think. So, the mind is an amazing instrument. It's absolutely brilliant creation. As John Milton rightly put in the Paradise Lost, the mind is its own place and itself can make a heaven or a hell of heaven. So now what is this intelligence? We saw what is mind. Now what is this intelligence? Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone. This is from the 6th chapter 25th verse. The power of discrimination to be able to decide the value of what we want or what we don't want, whether we should strive to achieve it, is beyond the mind's scope. Rather, this is the function of the intelligence. A very beautiful example I can say, like in case I come across a bakery and I smell something really tempting. So my mind senses it and it gives an aroma as pleasurable. And I decide I want to eat it. But when I have the diabetes, and my intelligence will stop me from actually eating it, whatever I smell, isn't it? So if the intelligence is not properly trained, then I have to suffer the consequences. So now what is this ego? Ego is a person who has given up all the cravings and a sense of this proprietorship, who is devoid of all the false ego, and he alone attains peace. Says in BG, Bhagavad Gita 2.71 verse. When we have ego, what we do, we constantly compare ourselves to other people who you think they are better than you, better looking, more intelligent people, more happier people, more wealthier people. So what happens? You constantly compare yourself with them, and you feel that you're not as good as that, and you get the jealous and everything. When other people do well, right, you feel jealous. So that is called ego. So we saw what is mind, intelligence and ego and how they are interconnected beautifully, isn't it? So okay, now let's move on to the wise quotes. That's the main topic of discussion for today. Isn't it strange that despite all the advancement we have made in various areas, our own mind is capable of creating havoc in our lives? Anxiety, depression, stress are increasing across the world. According to the WHO, World Health Organization, 1 in 13 people globally suffer from anxiety problem, and that's alarming. Naturally, there's something we are not doing right. Often when we are struggling for solutions, we turn to the sacred text or scriptures to show us the right path. Bhagavad Gita is such text full of timeless wisdom. The great warrior Prince Arjuna was caught in a moral dilemma on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where he is supposed to kill his own brothers to win back his kingdom. Very despondent and confused, he resorts to the feet of Lord Sri Krishna, his chariot driver in the war, and for advice, and he seeks for advice and wisdom. It is then Lord Krishna presents him with an enlightening discourse about his duties and the right way to lead his life. So these teachings calm his mind and allay his anxieties. Now let's take a look at few beautiful verses which deal specifically with regulating and centering the mind. Just as Arjuna discovered peace upon hearing these words, we too can if we understand and apply them properly in our day-to-day life. Number 1, it's given in 6th chapter, 35th verse. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, O mighty armed one, undoubtedly the mind is fickle and difficult to master, but it can be controlled by diligent practice, Arjuna, and detachment from sense enjoyment. Lord Krishna, who himself is beyond the mind, does not for once tell Arjuna that the mind is very easy to master. See, this is a point to be noted here, my dear friends and devotees. Lord Krishna says it's difficult, he accepts it. The mind is restless, and bringing back under the restraint of the intellect and the spirit is not at all an easy thing to do. At the same time, he presents Arjuna with 2 powerful tools to discipline the wandering and the reckless mind. What are they? Let's see. First is practice. Practice. We are all well aware. Whatever we do repeatedly turns into the habit of getting stored in the subconscious mind. For example, you can say driving. Driving through regular practice, we can become great drivers. And it starts to happen on automatic pilot mode. In a similar fashion, our mind also becomes a slave to the undesirable habits that can turn into addictions, restlessness, distractions, but also habits that the mind has acquired. But Sri Krishna says it is possible to wean the mind from its old habits through earnest and persistent practice. What is this persistent practice, we may ask? Krishna is referring here to the practice of abiding in the self. What is that abiding in the self? We may refer to the self by different names. God, you can say a supreme consciousness, divine, you can say it as a higher self, whatever it makes sense to you. But all these names signify only one truth. So as the mind is habituated to running towards sense objects, and an equally strong pull is needed to bring it back to the center. That pull is found in, where it is found? It is found only in the self. Right? The true peace which forever abides in every human being. Krishna, however, says that just this practice would not suffice. We also need one more important tool. What is that? That is non-attachment. The invisible strings that chains us to the material world and keeps our mind in a continued state of unease and anguish are called attachments. We can constantly feel a powerful pull towards these sense enjoyments. Sometimes someone is too attached in a relationship, someone is too attached to the food, someone is too attached to the alcohol, another is attached to the gizmos or clothes, right? What is that gizmos? Gizmos is that gadgets, electronic gadgets or games and machines and all that. The list is simply endless. The thing is engaging in sensory pleasures is that no matter how much of it we get, we are still left craving for more and more and more. Detachment is much needed. We must think, if material acquisitions have really given us lasting happiness, did not our addictions and cravings often leave us feeling empty or disillusioned? So here, the Bhagavad Gita wants us to understand that real happiness does not come from material and transient things, but rather it is achieved through a loving relationship with the Lord, Hari Bol, and our inner higher self, however we choose to name it. These are the above two powerful tools to gain control over the mind. And number 2 wise quote. What is that? It's from the 6th chapter, 1st course. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. I repeat, one who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated is in the renounced order of life, and he is a true mystic. One, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. In this verse, Lord Krishna imparts supreme teaching on the true meaning of renunciation. The ancient Vedic text of India describes certain ritualistic activities such as fire sacrifices, which yogis or monks of those times are expected to perform. But Sri Krishna firmly states such external acts does not qualify one to become a renunciant. Sri Krishna throws light on the true definition of a yogi. According to the verse, those who can renounce the fruits of their actions, that is the point to be noted here, by offering to the Lord are the true renunciants or yogis. Therefore, to be a renunciant, one does not have to give up his duties. Renunciation means does not stopping anything and just, that is not renunciation. Renunciation is leaving the results to the Almighty. Therefore, one does not have to give up his duties and run away to a forest or monastery. No. Even if one is leading a family life, it's okay. He can perform all the activities in the spirit of humble service to the Lord without any desire for rewards. Then such a person is a real renunciant. This teaching can help us attain the real peace and stability of mind. Firstly, we have the assurance that we do not need to run hither and thither for peace. Stability and peace of mind are not contingent upon any external environment, but upon our response to life. Our mind will be restless and agitated as long as we attach our happiness to how our actions pan out. Sometimes the results will be favorable and we'll be elated and happy, and when they are not, we will be left feeling disappointed. This is a never-ending cycle. So the way to break this cycle is by submitting our actions and these fruits to a higher ideal. In this way, the outcomes lose their power and create further selfish desires in us. So when one gives up on worrying about the outcomes, the mind is no longer in the future but is stationed in the present moment, wherein we can find calmness and peace. Now let's go to number 3, lesson 3, the wise quote. It's from the 6th chapter, 17th verse. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, but those who are temperate in eating and recreation. What is the meaning of temperate? Moderate in eating and recreation, balanced in work, and regulated in sleep, can mitigate all sorrows by practicing yoga. Finally, Lord Krishna presents yet another important tool for a centered and peaceful mind. Moderation, he says. The verse for us states that one who is temperate in eating and recreation, regulated in work, and temperate in sleep and wakefulness, such a person can become free from the sorrows of the mind and body. So, Lord Krishna urges us to lead regulated and balanced lives, neither too much nor too less. This is a very practical teaching pertaining to our actions in day-to-day life. Do we take care of our eating habits really, if you just introspect? Are we performing some kind of exercise to maintain a physical body? Do we give enough rest to the body? These are the pertinent questions which we need to be asking ourselves very often. Often we need to, take the sacred vehicle that is our body. We take it for granted. We tend to overindulge or we overexert it, not realizing the detrimental after effects of the same. Not only on the body, also the mind. Body and mind are intimately connected, right? So it would be a big challenge to experience tranquility and calmness of mind if body is not supporting. If body is unsupportive and diseased, then the mind will also become diseased, isn't it? So my dear friends and devotees, I would like to end my today's topic by one of my two favorite verses from the Gita. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantrarodani mayaya. Meaning, Supreme Personality of Godhead dwells in the hearts of all beings, O Arjuna. According to their karmas, he directs the wanderings of the souls who are seated on a machine made of material energy. Second, Sarvasya Shaham Hridi Sannivishto Matta Smritirjnanam Apohanam Cha Vedaischa Sarvair Aham Veva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham. Meaning, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am compiler of the Vedanta, and I am knower of the Vedas. So, to conclude, an unregulated life is a deterrent in the practice of yoga, and meditation, as you know, as well as in the pursuit of peace of mind. So we saw the three beautiful sayings from the Gita for regulating and how to help the mind center, help in centering the mind, isn't it? So to brief it, what are these solutions? We saw persistent practice and detachment. Then we saw performing actions without concern for rewards. Then living a balanced and well-regulated life by the teachings of Sri Krishna. And if these teachings are applied holistically, then without any doubt, the restless nature of the mind will slowly be replaced with calmness, focus, alertness and stability. Such a mind is not perturbed by ups and downs of life and remains centered and peaceful always. So, let's apply these Bhagavad Gita teachings and wisdom in our day-to-day lives and improve our mental well-being. That's all, my dear friends and devotees. I would catch you all with another beautiful Krishna Katha and motivational video. Until then, hope you enjoyed this topic as much as I did. Please, I request you forward this to all your near and dear ones so that all be benefited by reading this. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.